Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to No BS Job Search Advice. It's a time where I like to spend about 15 minutes chatting with you on a Monday morning about some element of job search, because I believe job hunting really doesn't have to be as hard, difficult, painful, or take as long as it does. It's just the skills needed to find a position are different than the skills needed to do one. And what I try to do is make it easy for job hunters by teaching you the kind of things you need to know in order to be more effective with your job search. Now, this show is brought to you by Audible. And if you go to audibletrial.com/the big game hunter and sign up for a free trial of Audible, uh, what you're able to do is get a free audiobook as part of that trial. And you obviously like audio, you listen to my podcast, whether it's this one, whether it's Job Search Radio, my flagship show, maybe it's No BS Hiring Advice Radio. Whichever it is, try Audible. You enjoy audio, enjoy books in audio fashion as well. The other sponsor is consultingassignments.com, which is a site where you can find and fill consulting assignments, full-time consulting positions, temp to perm and contract hire opportunities anywhere in the world for free. Posting a job or a resume is free. Searching jobs and resumes is free. The ability to contact one another is free. The only thing the site charges for is if you're going to feature a job or a resume, it is $10 for 30 days. And that price will come down if you're going to feature more than one position. So again, consultingassignments.com. So this is a show for those of you who realize you're not young anymore. That's my best way of describing middle age. You've reached that point in your life where you're getting enough messages that you're waking up to the fact that you're not 24 anymore, that you're closer to 44 or 54, or as in my case, 64. And you can't get away with being someone with potential, someone on the way up. There's an expectation that you've arrived. And I'll also say that there are certain things you're looking for organizations to deliver for you too. So I thought I would cover a couple of things that I think are important for you to be conscious of as you're engaging in your job search, so that in this way you don't get blindsided with bad feedback and you're as well prepared as possible. Now, the first thing I want to talk with you about is branding. And if you haven't done things to market yourself or to brand yourself properly so people are reaching out to you, now is definitely a time to do it, whether it's part of this job search or preparing for the one that will follow. Branding has to be part of your preparation for any job search from this point on. And it's too detailed a conversation to go into for today. I just want to encourage you, think branding. Start with LinkedIn, but you have to go much broader than just LinkedIn in order to create a brand for yourself. And in doing so, start thinking about what's the message you want to deliver to people so that they think of you first and foremost as an expert in your field. So that becomes LinkedIn with the branding things. And that one, you don't have to wait until you're you've developed a brand for yourself. You can start doing that today. Who are you? What makes you unique, for your craft? And start working at clarifying that message. Now, one thing I noticed about myself as I got older is that so did my wardrobe. That I started to no longer dress stylishly, which was good because I couldn't get away with dressing like I did when I was 24, when I was 44. My build had changed. I had shifted, even though I was in good shape at that time. I was a marathon runner. I wasn't as well dressed, in a youthful style as I was when I was 24 or 34. I'd gone more classic, and that's okay. I want you to go more classic, but certainly not dated, not looking like you're wearing something that's 20 years old. And there's a difference between the two. And if you're not sure, ask your wife, husband, or partner for advice about this. Because whether you're male or female, there's a way of looking like you're an old dowdy for women and like you're a geezer for guys. And you don't want to do that. And that includes your hair. So for guys, if you've got that pompadour thing going, and for women, if you look like a Farrah Fawcett clone, it's time to start looking at a new hairstyle for yourself. So start looking at your appearance, start looking at your wardrobe. Also, look at the language that the marketplace is using for the kind of work that you do, and start defining yourself in that way on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, and on your personal website. When all is said and done, remember, firms are going online looking for people. What terms are they using in order to find someone like you? Are they using that same vocabulary? Has it morphed a little bit? If it has changed, update your profiles in order to make sure that you're someone who can be found and not just someone who's out there hunting all the time. It does make a difference. And speaking of being hunted, on your LinkedIn profile in the summary area, put your email address and phone number. What? People can call me. Yeah, they can call you even if you're not looking for a job, and they can talk with you about something better than what you have. Doesn't mean that you have to say yes, but it does mean that you have to be open to it because it really serves you. Folks, at the end of the day, if you haven't figured this out already, you're disposable to any organization you work for. And as such, you need to be prepared with an exit strategy for yourself. I just did something for Periscope where I was talking about, it's time to go. And when you start noticing that you enjoy going home a lot more than you enjoy going to work, it's time to move on. Maybe your boss is someone who just criticizes you and doesn't praise you. Maybe you're stuck doing the same thing for the last 5 years. Don't just sit there and tolerate mistreatment. Make your move and be open to making a move. Even if you think you're happy, maybe you could be happier. Certainly if you made $20,000, $30,000, or $40,000 more than you do now, you might be a lot happier, right? So when a recruiter is reaching out to you, whether corporate or third party, make it easy for them. Okay, so get that contact information onto your LinkedIn profile. Talk about your strengths confidently. Practice talking about the work that you do so that it doesn't sound like you're giving a haphazard presentation. This goes hand in hand with practice interviewing, because whether you're happy doing what you're doing, where you're doing it, or you're aggressively looking for something else, there's a way to present yourself. So rehearse. Now, I'll also mention, and this is really the biggest one, the older you get, the more concerned you are with ageism, the bias against older workers. You start noticing that hiring managers are younger than you are, and you have the impression that they don't want to talk to someone like you, meaning they don't want to talk to someone older than you, as old as you are. And that certainly can happen without question whatsoever. However, you're probably more concerned about it than they are. If you can deliver the goods, they're going to open their eyes and pay more attention. Don't get fixated on the fact that you're older than they are and start making excuses proactively for why you don't get the job. Focus in instead on selling yourself and presenting yourself to them in a way that's strong and confident and powerful. I was talking to a guy last week who's up for a job with a startup. And he's in the Bay Area. There are lots of opportunities available to him. I'm not going to talk about what he does, but I'll just simply say he's interviewed at 5 or 6 places. He's been invited back at 5 or 6 places. My client is getting in relatively late into the mix. But I just said to him very simply, you never know where you run into people. And you never know if this is the one you really fall in love with. Always be selling yourself, because at the end of the day, often what happens is, about 10 minutes into the conversation, what happened is you suddenly wake up and go, hey, this is a pretty good job. And you start selling yourself, but it may be too late to recapture those first 10 minutes and fix the damage that you caused by being more casual. So understand, from an employer perspective, they go through this thing called confirmation bias, where they make a judgment about someone and then look to confirm it. Well, on your side, you arrive with a judgment about someone. They don't want to hire someone as old as me. And when you discover that they would have, it's probably too late to correct it, because you've sent out enough nonverbal and verbal messages. Nonverbal ones basically going, oh, shoot. And that kind of message that's associated with, she's 20 years younger than me or 10 years younger than me. They'll never want to hire me. And you got that pasted on smile that basically says, oh, shoot. Or you have the one that, well, there are lots of messages that you send out. So when push comes to shove, just remember, walk into every meeting, every conversation where you're selling yourself. If there are resumes, if there's, if you're in a graphics profession, you want to make sure that your stuff is up to date and not looking like it's aged. You want to have your portfolio look current. You want everything to look great. So those are a couple of things I want to encourage you to do, so that in this way you're able to be proactive with your job search and present very well. At the end of the day, your job is to always send out the message that you're ready to excel, that you're a top performer, excellent at your business. And whether you're 44, 54, 64, or beyond, you always want to be seen as a leader. You always want to be perceived as exceptional. You always want to be seen as the choice, so you can say no. I was doing a video earlier today where I was talking about a woman who, Liz Ryan did an interview with someone, or she wrote in, and woman described a bad interview that she'd had. Kept waiting for 15 minutes in the reception, invited in to meet HR. HR has coffee, doesn't ask her if she'd like some. So, of course, the woman says, oh, you have some coffee. Mind if I have some as well? And suddenly the HR person is beside herself. Yeah, you can get some, and kind of points her to where she can get some coffee. And then the conversation continues when she comes back with her cup of coffee, saying, with HR asking, you have 20 minutes to prove yourself. And the candidate responds by saying, look, I'm going to sit here and have my coffee, and if you want an answer to that question, you can leave now, but because I think it's ridiculous and unnecessary. So your choice. I'd be happy to answer reasonable questions, but I'm not going to play a game with you. And the HR person adapted, started to ask questions. Excuse me. And a few days later, the person got a phone call from the hiring manager who said, hey, I heard you're someone with spunk, and I like to hire spunky people. Now, I happen not to like the word spunk. I'd rather look at it as, I'm not going to take BS. And that's the way you need to present yourself always, as a winner, as a person who's no nonsense, who's not going to take BS. I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you found this helpful. I want to encourage you, visit my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. There's a lot more there that you can watch, listen to, or read to help you find work more quickly. And if we're not connected on LinkedIn, send me a connection request at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. I accept connection requests from people worldwide, except if you look like a spammer or scammer, except if you're a third-party recruiter. Also want to mention, if you have questions about job hunting, you are not alone. Most people do. However, they ask the wrong people for advice. They talk to friends, family, maybe a former manager or colleague. In other words, people who know as little as they do, and they ask them for advice, and they get what they pay for. Instead, reach out to me, which you can do in two places. One, through my website, which if you click the tab on the top of the page, which again is thebiggamehunter.us, click the tab that says have your job search questions answered. Schedule time with me through there or through prestoexperts.com, where I'm a job search and career coaching expert. So I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you enjoyed today's show. I'll be back next week with more no BS job search advice. Take care. Have a great day.